Bug Hunt is a game designed to be easy to learn and fun to play, while offering strategic options to players looking for something more stimulating. Inside the box, the game looks like many others. It contains dice and pieces to move, but it also contains a range of cards, and instead of a plain board, it contains a series of hexagonal map pieces that can be mixed and rearranged in many different ways to make every game a unique experience. Bug Hunt is a game of exploration and immersion, as players portray young children learning to hunt by catching bugs and returning them to camp. It uses an innovative system where different parts of the map present varying degrees of risk and varying degrees of reward. Unlike many games, where a player's destiny is controlled purely by arbitrary die rolls, Bug Hunt offers players more choices to control the fate of the children they portray. Players are encouraged to engage with an imaginative narrative of children collecting bugs in a swampland, and to portray a role, thus more comprehensively understanding the ramifications of the choices they make in the game. To maximise accessibility, Bug Hunt is designed to be played at 3 distinct levels. The basic game is the simplest version and uses a simple linear path of locations starting with the base camp, progressing with an easy white bordered area and ascending to one of the most dangerous black bordered areas in the game. In this version of the game, players choose whether to push their luck with each die roll or simply return home with what they've gathered so far. To make things more interesting, a complete map may be built up from the location tiles. This forms the basis of the intermediate game, where bug hunters wander across the landscape looking for bugs. In the full game, bug hunters build up an immunity to the bug toxins every time they are bitten too many times. This works mechanically as a balancing feedback loop, mitigating some of the negative effects from bad die rolls, and therefore promoting a more active playstyle, regardless of which players seem to be winning at any particular point. Each level of the game builds on the last, adding new features and scaffolding toward the full game experience. In order to understand what is happening in an asymmetrical situation, researchers will often develop a control group and an experimental group to compare results. In this game, the fair game represents the control group, while a series of character trait cards create an unfair game and thus function as the experimental group. Every player starts with 3 trait cards. These each reflect something that might be biological, psychological, or social. They are generally fairly neutral, just words that can be used to identify things about the bug hunter. But each of these words has 2 sides, one positive and one negative. Every player has the opportunity to define their bug hunter by choosing 1, 2, or all 3 of their traits. Choosing traits in this way might be similar to the way people choose to follow their passions, proudly proclaim their culture and differences, or actively choose to define themselves in the world. Or they can suppress their traits, hiding their individuality to avoid the bad things that society might inflict on them. In the Bug Hunt, Life's Not Fair experimental group, these traits are gendered. Male bug hunters gain the advantages shown on the trait cards, and they turn the cards in such a way that the white writing is facing toward them. Conversely, female bug hunters suffer from the disadvantages shown at the other end of the card. They turn the cards in such a way that the black writing is facing toward them. Players choose how many trait cards will modify their play experience, but they're not told whether these traits will be beneficial to them or detrimental until after they've decided. A player can take the safe route and hide all of their differences by returning the trait cards to the deck, or they can take a risk, embrace their diversity, and hold on to 1 or more of their cards. Once everyone has decided, it is randomly determined which players will portray male bug hunters, and thus gain bonuses, and which players will portray female bug hunters, thus gaining the penalties. When the game is concluded, players might keep their chosen traits, and then swap the genders of their bug hunters, just to see how things might have played out differently. This experiential learning is the key to the game's educational offering. Rather than simply memorising rote facts, it allows players to step into a liminal imagined space, safe and separate from the outside world, where themes such as gender imbalance can be played out and then discussed once the game has concluded. As an interactive and immersive experience, Bug Hunt is designed with components that might be used to integrate its lessons with a variety of school subjects. For example, a geography lesson might incorporate the game through discussions of swamps and wetlands, how people live in these areas, and the ecological issues facing the world. A history lesson might discuss the way cultures have historically lived in the wetlands, focusing on the different gender roles in these societies over time, the trade that these societies have engaged in, and the cultural values that have shifted due to historical events. In an information technology lesson, the class might focus more on the way the rules have been presented, the symbolism used, and the way procedures could be shifted to give a different immersive experience for the players. A basic mathematics lesson might work with the numbers and colour patterns used in the game's scoring system, while a more advanced lesson might discuss the shift in probabilities applied by different traits as they interact with the core mechanisms of the game. A basic visual arts lesson might give students the chance to draw their own bugs inspired by those found in the game, and a more advanced lesson might see students drawing the bug hunters with gender-modified traits. But most of all, the game is designed to be fun to play, something that can be used in a variety of situations to provide an immersive experience that may be fair and balanced where everyone has an even chance of winning, or may be deliberately unfair to highlight societal issues. The core sociological issues addressed in Bug Hunt are framed from the perspective of postmodern feminism, where words are power, and the definition of those words can be used to define a person's place in society. Postmodernism, from a feminist perspective, focuses on differences and the exploration of defining oneself according to the terms available in a society. This is reflected by the ability for players to choose defining features to embody their bug hunter, and to see how these might impact on their chances of success in the game. This is not a game designed to give students a specific set of answers, but instead, it's a game designed to work as a tool so they might formulate answers of their own.